The Someday Dragon. Once upon a time, not so long ago and not terribly far away, a baby dragon was born on a large and pastoral dragon breeding farm. They were known across the land for the absolute perfection and breathtaking beauty of their impeccably bred, show-quality dragons. Sadly, when the breeders looked upon this baby dragon, they immediately saw that his wings appeared frail, thin, and slightly twisted. Some of his scales were misshapen, and they didn't have the sheen that their quality show dragons were known for. They looked away. The little dragon grew and watched the other baby dragons, the special show-quality dragons, showered with attention and praise. They were groomed and massaged and fed fragrant, tasty-looking foods. The handlers walked past him without a word. On the other days, they looked away. On the good days, they looked away. Other days, they walked by and laughed. Some days, they would say awfully mean things about his thin, twisted wings. Some days, people would even poke him with sticks. A scary man came to put needles in him one day. Frightened, the baby dragon tried to run away. More mean people put a stick with a chain on his face and twisted it, causing terrible pain. When they finally let him go, he ran to the furthest corner of the pasture. He lay down, scared and alone. Shaking, he curled up and cried himself to sleep. As he slept, he dreamt, and in that dream, a fairy god-dragon appeared to him and said, "Someday, little one, you will be so loved. Your princess will find you, and you will be so very precious to her. With her, you will become the most magnificent dragon in all the land." The baby dragon awoke with renewed hope in his little heart. Not long after, a big truck arrived at the farm with a very big trailer attached to it. They had all seen this several times before. It was here to take chosen young show dragons to their new homes. The baby dragon was surprised when they took him, along with several baby show dragons, into the trailer. "Is this my someday?" he asked his fairy god-dragon. "Not yet, little one," said the fairy god-dragon, "but you are on your way." During the trip, the show dragons taunted and teased the baby dragon, telling him that when they reached their destination, they were sure everyone would laugh at his tiny wings and misshapen scales, and maybe even just throw him away. "No one will want to keep you," they all said. They blew fire at him and bit him. They chased him away from the food so he couldn't even get one bite to eat. The baby dragon hung his head and found a corner to curl up in. Alone, he lay down and quietly cried himself to sleep. His fairy god-dragon appeared again in his dreams, telling him, "When you arrive at this new barn, there will be a wizard. She will help you find your princess. She will help you find your home." The baby dragon and the others finally arrived at the training stable. He was led off the trailer, squinting into the light. Immediately, just as the others had predicted, humans walked over and said, "Oh, look at that one. Do you think he's deformed? Look at his shriveled little wings. Why, I think some of his scales are misshapen. He can't even breathe fire, just little plumes of smoke." They laughed at him and said, "He'll never be a show dragon." They looked away and went on to praise the show dragons, lavishing them with attention and affection. Some time went by. A lady eventually came out to play with the baby dragon, teaching him to be ridden by people and letting him run and dance out in the big arena. He liked that and felt just a little special for just a little while. His fairy god-dragon appeared and told him This lady is the wizard who will lead you to your princess." "She is?" asked the baby dragon, adding, "But she doesn't look like a wizard at all. She doesn't have a cloak with stars, a magical hat, or a sparkling wand. How come?" The fairy god dragon explained that this wizard had all those things at home. "She just dresses like the common people so everyone won't know of her magical powers," he told the baby dragon. But then the wizard went away for what seemed like a very long time. No one played with the baby dragon. No one came and helped him learn new tricks. No one climbed upon his back or talked to him. He thought he had simply been forgotten. He went to the corner of his dusty paddock, lay down, and cried himself to sleep, as he'd done so many sad times before. Once again his fairy god dragon appeared and visited him in his dreams. This time he said, "Tomorrow, little one, is your someday. Tomorrow you will find your princess." The baby dragon was so excited, but also very scared. What if he missed her? What if he came, and what if she saw the wonderful, beautiful show-quality dragons and wanted to take one of them home and be their mama instead? How would he know it was really her? The fairy god dragon explained, "Oh, you will know, little one, you will know. And she will call you by your real name, your special name." "I have a special name?" asked the baby dragon, delighted. Those were reserved only for the most prized young show dragons. "What is it?" His fairy god dragon lowered his voice and whispered in the baby dragon's ear, "Dracarys." The next morning, the baby dragon was led into the pasture. There he was filled with a hope and excitement he had never known. He ran to the gate to meet the wizard as she approached. She told him, "You're going to meet someone special today." He already knew. He was on his very best behavior. He wanted to make the very best impression on his real mama, on his princess, when she arrived. And just like the fairy god dragon told him, he knew her the second she walked into the stable. She wasn't wearing a crown or royal jewels, but he knew immediately that she was his princess. She walked over and put her hand on his shoulder, smiled, and said, "Dracarys." In his heart he felt a wonderful, reassuring happiness. The princess played with him. She even climbed upon his back and rode him. It was the very best day of the baby dragon's life. He told the princess of his great joy and all about his fairy god dragon. He shared all his hopes and his dreams. He told her how he'd been waiting for her, of his gratitude, and most of all, he told her of his great love for her. And then he mustered up all his bravery and asked, "Can I come home with you?" "Yes," replied the princess, "I'll take you home." She looked at him in a way that made him feel more beautiful and more special than he had felt ever before in his entire little baby dragon life. She placed her hand softly on his nose. For the first time ever, it didn't scare him to let someone touch his face. She gave him a kiss. Then she climbed gently onto his back. Dracarys let out a joyous roar and breathed the most spectacular flame of glittering red fire, so brilliant that it illuminated the entire sky as far as the eye could see. Suddenly, his once frail, twisted, and tiny wings burst forth, full, straight, strong, and powerful. His scales gleamed majestically and shone like the finest gold. This was his someday. With that, Dracarys spread his magnificent wings, and he and his princess flew off into the sunrise. It was only the beginning.